So you can be in the spiritual world with the spiritual form, through karma, Mr. Bhakti, whatever, but you don't get the nectar. So you don't get the ocean. So the real devotees are in the ocean. Those are the ones that get the bhakti rasa medicine. To do that, we have to practice a certain type of bhakti, not mixed bhakti, but pure bhakti. Here's a mantra. Okay, Bhanu Swami also praised the effect of the book. It's just mother the tongues of the followers of jnana and karma who are like volcanoes in the ocean. Not exactly volcanoes, there's actually considered to be a vidava. It's a fire in the ocean somewhere there, in the shape of a horse's mouth, and it's flaming in the ocean. So the ocean of nectar should cover that up, the tongues of the followers of jnana and karma. So in other words, the work should defeat the arguments of jnanis and karmis. So, the important point is the definition of pure bhakti, which you probably know. Anya abhilashita sunya jnana karma avartam anuklayan krishnanasiranam bhakti uttama. The highest bhakti is defined as continuous service or emotions directed towards Krishna's expansions or other forms related to him with a pleasing attitude towards him. So, what is this Krishna anusilanam? This is the main subject here. Anusilana means constant cultivation in relation to Krishna. It can be active service, cheshtarupa, like picking flowers for Krishna, or making garlands, or cooking for Krishna, or dressing Krishna. That is cheshtarupa bhakti. That's the type of anusilana. So in our sadhana bhakti, most of the things are like that. Hearing chant, remember, all active things. Then we have emotions, or bhav rupa bhakti, which functions mainly in bhav and prema. That means the sthayi bhava becomes manifest. So even without doing the activities, one can do Krishna anusilanam. In other words, because one has a certain relationship with Krishna and bhava and prema in friendship or service or parenthood or whatever, that is also an anusilanam. So therefore, Krishna anusilanam includes both active and emotional aspects. And it says Krishna anusilanam, but it can mean for all forms of God, not just Krishna. So bhakti can be for Rama, Uttama bhakti can be for Nrsimha or Vishnu or any of the forms of the Lord. They're all considered to be bona fide forms. Why? Because they are all forms of God, and Krishna, the name Krishna, includes everybody else anyway. So it should be with a pleasing attitude, with an intention of pleasing the Supreme Lord, not displeasing him or whatever. So obviously an example is Prahlad. Prahlad had great service to the Lord, and he was favorable to the Lord. And of course he was famous for remembrance. That is his type of bhakti. That's favorable service. Hiranyakasipu also served the Lord, but he wasn't trying to please the Lord at all. He hated the Lord. The Lord, of course, didn't hate him. The Lord is very pleased. But Hiranyakasipu was not doing bhakti because he didn't have a pleasing attitude towards the Lord. That is, anukulyena. It was not favorable to the Lord. Then we have the qualification of that statement, favorable service. It should be devoid of other desires. Anya abhilashita shunya. We have a desire to please the Lord, but not other desires. And that means desires to please somebody else or whatever. And it should be unobstructed by impersonal jnana, materialist rituals of karma, or other unfavorable acts. So we have pure bhakti. This is called uttama bhakti or pure bhakti. That will lead to the nectar, the ocean of nectar. That is dasya, sakya, etc. If we start mixing it up with other desires, jnana and karma, etc., then what happens? Maximum we'll get up to shantarasa. Or bhakti with karma, we may get less than that, salokya, sarupya. Without the sakya, etc., dasya. So in other words, we get a limited result while mixing the bhakti with other things. So therefore it says here that it should be aninabhilashita sunya, devoid of other desires, in order to get bhakti rasamrasa and nectar devotion. We mix it with others, karma and jnana, etc., then we get some other result. Okay. Now, there are different types of bhakti. Uttama bhakti. We're talking about uttama bhakti or pure bhakti. We have sadhana, bhava, and prema. Sadhana will be discussed in the second wave, bhava in the third wave, and prema bhakti in the fourth wave. First wave, just generally gives us the general definition, and then it goes on to the characteristics of bhakti. So, they're all uttama bhakti. One leads to the other. So it is like a flower, like the lotus bud we see there. It's a blue, it's a pink lotus. Wow. Anyway, just as a lotus gradually blossoms, so it's bhakti, it's the same thing, but it gradually transforms itself into a fuller and fuller state. So it goes from sadhana, bhava to prema. So there are 6 unique qualities of bhakti, called the samanya lakshana mentioned here. Kleshagni subhada moksha laguta krit sudurlabha sandranada vishesha amana Sri Krishna karshani chasa. Kleshagni means destruction of suffering, klesha. But klesha refers not only to immediate suffering like getting in an accident or getting sick or losing your money, it also refers to the causes of suffering. So Rupa Goswami analyzes klesha into different components, 3 components: avidya, pavabija, and papa. The original, most subtle is avidya, ignorance. This is the cause of everything, ahankara. This leads to papbija, desires for enjoyment in the material world. That leads to actions, which may be either papa or punya. They give reactions which cause suffering. So all of this is actually considered suffering, the cause plus the effect. So the first effect of bhakti is to destroy suffering and its causes. So all of this gets destroyed by the process of bhakti. So we have avidya, in which we think of ourselves as independent of the Lord, and therefore we want to enjoy like the Lord. So we develop desires. I want this, or I hate that, or I fear that, or I want to destroy this, or I take that, or whatever. And we identify with the material body, and we do our actions in the material world. And that makes karma. So basically we have iccha dvesha. I like that, I want that because it gives me pleasure, and I don't want that because it gives me pain. So these are the 2 things we have. And then we do actions to get things and actions to avoid things. And that causes our karma. So we get some suffering, and then we do an action to remedy the suffering, and then we get karma. This is basically what happens. So how does the karma act? It may take a long, long time for us to get the result of a particular act in one lifetime. It may be next lifetime, it may be 20 lifetimes later, whatever. Okay? So there's a course of action. Just like a tree takes time to go from the seed to grow, so your action will take time before it fructifies as a particular suffering in the future. So 4 stages are described: aparabdha, kuta, bija, and prarabdha. From the most undetectable and subtle to the detectable. So aparabdha refers to karmas which are not experienced at all within our lifetime. Prarabdha means those which we get in this lifetime. But between them we get a few stages also. So we have the aparabdha, the most subtle stage. Kuta, also included, not in this lifetime, but a little bit more growth, we can say. A little indication maybe there. Bija, within this lifetime, subtle, but coming out in the future of this lifetime. And then prarabdha, we actually experience it now. So in other words, a particular act can go through 4 stages. Completely undetectable, detectable in a future life, detectable in this lifetime, and experienced now. Like that. So it's just various stages of detecting it. Very subtle to actual manifestation of a suffering. So all of that is destroyed by the process of bhakti. So, also it's explained that it goes kramena, prarabdha first and then aparabdha last. So gradually all of these things are destroyed. We start the process of bhakti and bhajana kriya, we go up into bhava. By the bhava stage it should all be destroyed. Second characteristic, subhada, giving auspiciousness. Auspiciousness is defined as different things. One is jagat prina, affection. One develops compassion or affection for other living entities. Second, one becomes the object of affection of all other living entities. In other words, one becomes attracted to other living entities. Other living entities give respect to that person. That's another type of subhada. Third one, of course, is to develop manifesting good qualities. Of course, we can say the first 2 are actually aspects of the third one. They're all good qualities. These first 2 qualities begin to manifest, that is klesha, agni, and subhada begin to manifest in sadhana itself. That is, karmas get destroyed, etc. Desires get reduced, etc. And good qualities become manifested. So, of course, this continues all the way through bhava and up into prema. So then the qualities will be completely manifest in prema. And again, all of the suffering and ahankara, everything is destroyed in prema, 100%. Another type of subha is happiness. So we have different types of happiness: material happiness, happiness of liberation, happiness of bhakti. So the devotee doesn't want the first 2 types of happiness. He only wants he rejects those and he goes for the happiness of bhakti. So that's manifested in sadhana. In bhava, that turns into ananda, or an actual spiritual bliss, and prema becomes sandarananda, very condensed bliss. Okay, so these 2 first qualities are considered to be like the first manifestation after the seed is planted. And then we water the seed, and then it sprouts in the ground, and then 2 little leaves come out. Some of those klesha, agni, and subhada. In bhava, 2 more qualities manifest. Moksha lugutta kriti, disinterest in the bliss of liberation. We consider liberation to be insignificant. So the reason for that, of course, is in bhava we get a realization of the Lord. We perceive the Supreme Lord. If we perceive the Supreme Lord, then we